Alright, so we're going to have f vector 2d average equals new picks times edge weight plus old picks dot pause. And then average divide equal by edge weight plus 1. So we'll normalize it. Actually, we don't need to average this thing. We can just do that. And we just say old picks dot pause equals average. So that's all we have to do. And we're using it as the magnitude. So let's see how this works. So we're doing this after all of our blurs. So hopefully it won't, come back and zero out crap on us. It'll actually just leave what was there. So when we blur all this, it's going to be all of our path stuff, and then the shore stuff comes in to just keep stuff away from shore as kind of a final check on everything. As opposed to right now where it's getting averaged in with everything. Alright, so we'll boot this back up and take a look at what we can do with it. It just like wrote it directly in there, didn't it? I think I just had that wrong. Setting the wrong pixel. I was basically setting stuff and then throwing it out. And just using the unaveraged thing there. So let's see if this will actually fix some of our problems. Or some of my problems, that is. And that's not average at all. That's not average at all. What the fuck am I? Let's just set it to 0 and make sure we're actually doing what we think we are. Like, we're setting it on the reference. We're supposed to be averaging these things. So we're taking what is there and we're supposed to average it in just a bit. It's not what we think it is. I need to normalize that. Someday we'll have good looking water. Someday. Alright, generate all this stuff again. See what it does. Alright. Alright. What the hell is going on here? Alright, so the pause there is 7, rights is 120. So it's normalized. Old pix is pixels, so we should have something in the middle. So it's getting weighted in there, it's just getting weighted in there too much. Alright, so this needs to be added in. And the shore edge needs to be added in before the blur, the final blur, I guess. Or we just need a much smaller weight, like 10% or something. Yeah, let's do something like this, where we write it and then we blur it with a small weight. We'll see how that goes. Alright. Man, I'm just... I feel like I just only exist to click these 3 buttons. Well, what do you know? It got rid of the lines. Well, let's see if the ducks, when we spawn them up top, actually make it over and around properly. So this guy comes around, shoots off the side. Not nearly strong enough to keep these guys out of the wall. Let's see if we can do it. And that also, like I was talking about this earlier, I might have to have another texture here, which is the actual, like the drawn flow field, and then the flow field that we actually use for moving objects around, which I don't want to do if I can get it, if I don't have to. Because I want to keep it that I can just read like the data out of the texture if possible. That way I can like take advantage of the texture compression stuff that Unreal will do for me. So it'll like make the game smaller, do a whole bunch of stuff that I don't have to worry about later. Alright, and those guys are staying out of those areas, except for him back there. What the hell happened over here? Oh, we got stuck in like the dead zone, because there's actually a dead zone there. Alright, well that's a lot better. And that was just some changes to the algorithm a little bit. So it is progress. And this texture and some of this stuff, like it doesn't necessarily mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, look like this. This is just what throwing the information on there would look like. So it's not actually a huge deal. That kind of looks like garbage. Let's try a different sort of noise in here. Let's try the other noise texture for this thing. Well, we're not even using this stuff down here. And we're compiling textures here. Did it not work? Come on now. Yeah, and of course it didn't show up with these errors, and it's saying this should be of type color. Same with this. I thought it was of type color. Yeah, and this tends to happen all the time with these Unreal materials. They get broken like this, and they're just fucked forever. And you have to just make a new node and delete the old one, otherwise it just doesn't work. I don't know why that is. And this looks like a texture that, I mean, I could try maybe mapping these. This is a sprite texture? God damn it. I just want texture sample. Yeah, there it is. Why is that the bottom choice? And like we can speed it up or whatever, and it doesn't really. This texture obviously doesn't work very well for noisiness. Work a lot better as other things. Alright. Well, I think I gotta call that good enough for some of the actual motion. Maybe there's some other things that I can do. Like, this is just one part of the water effect. We need a lot more other things going on. That is just one piece of the puzzle, I think. So let's get rid of trash on here that we're not using. Alright. And let's also put on like a constant here, which will be a parameter, which will be the directional water direction opacity. We'll just have that be 1 by default, and then I need to go set that in the blueprint so that we can pass it in and kind of toggle that on and off. Let's go to our blueprint. Yes, water motion opacity. So go from 0 to 1. This is how water direction, how much water direction is applied. Alright, do that. And when you set the shader parameter, I think I'm going to have to go run to the store before it closes and buy things. Alright, and that name is water direction opacity. Alright, so I should be able to just take that out. So we can toggle that on and off. Alright, I think that's... I'm hungry and I need to go to the store. These two things seem like a really good combination. So we've got kind of motion in there. I'm going to call it good enough for now. So the idea would be that we could create some shore ripples that we need and kind of an overall water effect. We're going to want like a global wind speed thing. And we're going to need like shore ripples, kind of like the... We've got this piece of concept art here, which has got these ripples along the shore. And we're going to want to be able to toggle those things like on and off. And they should be kind of these standing ripples on the edge, where like we have like a specific value, where, or maybe two or more specific values that we'll be able to set. And then we'll have like some sort of line or color or something that we can kind of, maybe we can have a fatness to them, and then we can have like a texture that we mask them with, and then we can kind of like pan that texture along or whatever. We'll have to figure out exactly how to do that so we can get those ripples going on. So that's going to be the idea. So I'm going to roll out of here, and I'll probably be back in about a half hour or so. Get some food. So I'll keep the stream running, but I will be back in just a bit. So have a good one if you're going to check out. Otherwise, I'll be here after I go get some food, and I will be returning.